We all have our biases. No, I'm not talking about the favorite member sa isang pop group na sinastan mo. Bias, by definition, is the prejudice or inclination in favor of or against one thing, one person, or a group compared with another, usually in a way considered to be unfair. But of all things, many believe the last one that should have any ounce of bias is the news. Many believe it should be transparent, objective, impartial, and completely bias-free. And for these people, that's the ideal way of presenting information to the public through our newspapers and news programs. But believe it or not, journalism didn't start out like that. According to some pieces that I've read, the news started out largely partisan. Most likely because the socio-political structures back then were not as complex as the one we have now. Meaning, the opposing political views decades ago were very apparent and we can easily pinpoint ano yung stances nila categorically. But it is only in the 1920s where the word objectivity became a thing. Well, I have two reactions for this. Firstly, there is a misconstrued belief on what being objective means. It's not to be absolutely free of bias. The notion of being objective, according to the American Press Institute, called for journalists to develop a consistent method of testing information, a transparent approach to evidence, precisely so that personal and cultural biases would not undermine the accuracy of their work. So this is all about the method. Second, now this is purely my personal opinion. There is no 100% objectivity when it comes to news. There will always be a degree of bias even if the method of examining evidence is mostly and should be impartial. This happens because there is always a human element. Sure, the evidence and the data from the photos, videos, documents, studies, and findings na nakuha mo ay nandun. But the researchers collecting and arranging this information, merong inherent values that can dictate how they'll do the actual presentation. Editors work under the orders ng mga bosses nila and I'm pretty sure yung approval and feedback ng mga taong to na nagbabayad ng sahod nila, importante ito para sa mga editors na to. Mga news anchors, we've all seen it, meron sila mga spur-of-the-moment insights or reactions from what was said by the person they're interviewing. And there are a lot of examples of this. Humans are never free of bias. Innate things like intention, values, experiences, environment, these shape our biases, whether we do it knowingly or not. That is why writers, reporters, journalists from all over the world, regardless kung anong news network yan, regardless kung ano yung regional coverage meron sila, or the political atmosphere in their country, all of these professionals must agree on having an objective method. Getting secondary confirmation, citing references and sources, not corrupting the data or evidence, having someone proofread or double-check the work before it gets released, among all other things. But dito na yung critical, on the presentation of news, from analyzing or providing context, biases might occur. Some do it more obvious than others. And you know what? It's okay. It's tolerable. Because if questioned, if all of the things said or written in media, whether print, radio, or TV, the audience can always trace it back to the method they used. So when is the information released by the media not okay? It's not okay when you're giving false and baseless statements. It's not okay when you're telling a lie already. It's not okay if you're doing a full 180 degree to change the original content of the news story. Itong mga examples na ito ay maling-mali because it disrespects and taints the objective methodology of journalism. And syempre, mga practical reasons hindi ito pwede gawin ng mga news reporters kasi maraming deterrent silang haharapin. They could lose their job, not just one person, but could be an entire team. They could ruin their own reputation. Hindi lang yung taong nagreporta, but an entire network. And bad reputation means losing advertisers and losing stockholders. Or, if they did any of this, they could be dealt with defamation laws like libel or slander. Ayaw na ayaw nila na mga ganun. If ever they made an error, if ever they made a mistake, ginagawa nila isang public apology, they do a correcting report, they even acknowledge these things, and the worst case scenario nga is pwede silang sampahan ng kaso. So my point here is, journalists have a lot of reasons to avoid telling lies, but being biased is something that's tolerable. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but that is really the case. The presentation of news, the headline could be so biased, pero accurate naman ang sinasabi. The narrative of the news story could obviously have certain political inclinations, pero all of the data are accurate. And the one thing that we have to accept is that these biases will always exist. If you don't like the presentation of the news that you're seeing, you could always switch to a different channel, switch to a different radio station, or read a different newspaper. Pero hindi ideal na tanggalin mo tong source of information na to absolutely, because it could present you a different view that your preferred news source is not going to give. given na nga that biases exist, the danger of sticking to one source of information, to your preferred channel, to your preferred station, to your preferred account, to your preferred reporter or vlogger, to your preferred online source, is you might be consuming just one biased point of view, and all your perception of the world is being shaped by that one specific bias. So think about living your entire life sa isang worldview lang. Don't you think that's kind of sad? Don't you think that's kind of limiting and anti-growth? Now, this is a lot to take in, and I understand if some people feel na uncomfortable itong information na to, but that's just my opinion. And there's a lot of different nuances and angles to be discussed here. Ang dami pang pwedeng pag-usapan, and I can easily make a content for that anytime soon. This is Andrew Beso, and these are the things that I share online. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like other contents, you can check out my other social media platforms in Instagram, TikTok, and that Medium. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye!